Hey everyone, before we get into the actual video, make sure you stick around to the very end of this so that we can tell you how to enter for our latest giveaway. So here we have another resurrection for our world's most infamous creatures.
We know you love the MEGO videos.
We know you love monsters.
So here we are combining the two. Our biggest video ever.
Now, to get started, I just want to start with the general history of the MEGO company, because that does have a little bit of bearing on where this is going. So, the MEGO company was founded in 1954 by David and Madeline Abrams and thrived through the 50s and 60s as a seller of dime store toys. You know, like...
What's a dime store?
A dime store is like what we have now is a dollar store.
Right. So we had a lot of like Kresge's and Kmart was a dime store, right?
Right.
Stuff
So
like
it's the kind of toys you would... Yeah, the original MEGO toys are the kind of toys you might find in a dollar store now. Right.
They weren't action figures yet.
Not yet, no. They changed their business model in the early 1970s due to the rising cost of advertising in newspapers and started producing a line of action figures to compete with Hasbro's runaway hit G.I. Joe.
G.I. Joe.
For example, they produced a line of figures called Action Jackson.
Not the movie.
Nope. That, like G.I. Joe, had an accompanying line of outfits and accessories for different adventures. Unfortunately, the similarity to Joe got MEGO sued by Hasbro.
And they lost.
And the Abrams had to find a new way forward.
Oh, so they lost.
Yeah, they did lose. Yeah.
How do they lose if...
No, Action Jackson was very similar to G.I. Joe.
Yeah, but very similar, not G.I. Joe.
I guess it was enough of a similarity for a judge to be
we're talking, if you don't realize, we're talking the big G.I. Joe figures?
Yeah, the 12-inch ones,
not
the originals.
1980s little 3 3/4 inch.
Right, the original ones.
The original one, with the fuzzy hair.
Right. So in 1971, Dave and Madeline's son, Martin Abrams, was named company president and shifted the company toward the production of dolls with interchangeable bodies because it was easy to produce the same body but just different heads over and over again.
Yep.
Right? This move would have a tremendous impact on the toy business going forward and collecting well into the future. So in 1972, MEGO bought the licenses for both the characters of National Periodical Publications, that was the name of DC at the time, and Marvel Comics, and began to produce 8-inch tall action figures.
That's insane that they bought both.
Yeah, right, at the same time. Yeah, based on the most popular characters from both companies. This line was named the world's greatest superheroes and was so successful that it set the standard for action figures throughout the 1970s.
Still one of the best lines ever created.
Until, of course, the explosion of Star Wars later. Continuing this winning formula, MEGO began purchasing their licensing rights to movie, comic books,
TV
television
shows,
properties. Everything. They followed the superheroes line with every popular figure they could get based on Planet of the Apes, Star Trek, Tarzan. The success of these figures proved to the industry that licensed characters and toys could be more successful than previously imagined.
They were the Funkos of the 1970s.
Exactly. But where do you go as a company when you've got Batman and Spider-Man and Mr. Spock and Dr. Zaius? Well, naturally you're going to look to another pillar of pop culture, the Universal Monsters.
In 1973, MEGO was riding high in the success of licensed dolls that they had been releasing throughout the early 1970s. So they sought to diversify their brand with some new ideas and wanted to produce monster figures since the famous monsters of cinema were going through a renaissance at the time.
If you want to check out a little bit more about that renaissance of monsters and what was going on television at the time, you could check out our old video on the Aurora monster models.
It's a great one.
Unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on your view, MEGO had lost out on the official license for the Universal Monsters to a small company called AHI Toys. AHI was producing figures similar to the basic structure of MEGO dolls called world-famous monsters. This forced the designers at MEGO to reimagine new interpretations of the infamous creatures.
So they didn't have the Universal Monsters.
They didn't have the license. So they just produced their own versions of the characters, which the characters were... that wasn't copyright infringement.
Oh, so you can make a Frankenstein
as long as it didn't
Dracula.
look like Boris Karloff's Frankenstein. You could make Dracula as long as it didn't look like Bela Lugosi's Dracula.
Okay.
And this leads to some interesting, weird stuff with these
Very
these characters, right? So, like I said, the Mego designers had to reimagine new interpretations of these characters. What resulted were Mego's Mad Monster series of 4 figures. You had Dreadful Dracula, Monster Frankenstein, Horrible Mummy, and Human Wolfman. I don't understand the human adjective on Wolfman, but it was there.
So why was there no copyright on these? Because aren't these characters from, like, someone owned the rights to them?
Well,
someone created Frankenstein and someone created Dracula.
Right, but if you're going to use the name, then you're talking about whoever holds the license rights to the original characters from the novels.
And what year? The novels are from the early 1900s, right?
1800s.
Oh, so it would have ran out.
Dracula, Frankenstein was published in 1818, I think.
Okay, so that
Dracula was published in 1897, I think.
The copyright runs out, like we're seeing now.
Exactly.
Okay,
right.
that makes
more
sense.
So you don't have to worry about Dracula, Frankenstein, and you can't copyright the word mummy,
Right.
Because it's a thing, and a Wolfman is just a Wolfman. Like, you can't copyright the word, right? But they couldn't look like the Universals, right?
But the IFI was the name of the company.
AHI.
They could make them.
They made them
had
look like
rights to
the
Universal.
original
Okay.
monsters. Yeah. Again, Human Wolfman is the one that confuses me, but I'm not a lycanthrope. If any of you out there are werewolves and you want to let us know what that adjective human means, just please
Humghoul.
comment on this. The Humghoul.
The Humghoul. There we go.
Go watch Monster Club.
Yeah, great movie.
After this video.
Thank you.
Initially, the 4 monsters were released in solid boxes, like the ones the superheroes were originally released in
Windowless.
1971. No windows, right. And these monster boxes featured packaging artwork by the legendary comic book artist Gray Morrow. They're really nice. The illustrations are really, really nice.
But you didn't get to see the figures, though.
No, you couldn't see the figures, but the illustrations are awesome. They're up there with James Bama's illustrations on the Aurora models. They're really cool looking. The 4 figures were also, of course, released on Kresge cards for sale exclusively in SS Kresge stores, which were eventually Kmart. Could you give us a quick rundown on what makes a Kresge card a Kresge card?
So what a Kresge card is, if you are familiar with Migo cards are usually the big cards, has a bubble on it and has a picture of the other ones on the side. What a Kresge card is basically just a bubble on a card shaped the same way.
Right.
It has a little bit of top where you could hook it on a peg.
Yeah, the bubble's like in the center.
Yeah, bug's in the center.
Right.
It's a very small carded figure.
Yeah.
And they sold them in Kresge's. I had many Kresge cards growing up as a kid.
And if you turn them around, at the bottom of the packaging, it has the SS Kresge logo on the packaging.
And on the back, it shows you the other ones in the line. Like it would have, for the World's Greatest Heroes, it had, pictures of the World's Greatest Heroes. Same thing with the monsters.
Well, these all had World's Greatest Superheroes on the packaging as well.
Oh, really?
Even though they were the monsters.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. Eventually, these figures were all released in the very common Migo window packaging. But that was later. Again, like I said before, all the packaging for the monsters also had the World's Greatest Superhero label on them, possibly to hint to kids at the time that these creatures could face off against your DC and Marvel heroes.
Spider-Man.
That's right. You can have Dracula fighting Spider-Man.
Man-Wolf could be Human Wolf.
Human Wolf, right? Yeah. And then, I really want to see a werewolf fight Captain America right now.
Well, wasn't Captain America
or Dracula?
Captain America was a wolf.
Was a werewolf briefly. I'd like to see Wonder Woman fight
Human Wolf.
Dracula. Sorry, never mind. So all these figures are highly sought after by collectors, with the original full box and Kresge cards slightly more desired because of their rarity. But the most hunted, the most valuable variations on these dolls are red-headed Dracula and blue-haired Frankenstein's monster.
Oh, the stepchild, red-headed Dracula.
Yeah. Now, the exact origins of these 2 figures are actually a little confusing.
Is it Old Lady Frankenstein? Sorry.
There are different sources reporting different reasons for these variations. Some sources say it was a factory mistake in the painting. Others say that it was an attempt to really get far away from the appearance of the monsters from the Universal by giving Dracula red hair and Frankenstein blue hair. They are really cool, these variants. I really like the way they look. And they're extremely valuable. I mean, really very, very expensive. I saw them on the secondary market the last time they sold. Looked like they were running about $1,500 to $2,000 each.
Carded or loose?
It's loose.
Oh, wow.
Loose for that much, yeah. Personally, I'd like to see more monsters with crazy color choices. Like, I'd like a purple werewolf,
That
or
would be all of him, though.
Yeah, like the whole thing. I want these monsters to look like an '80s new wave band. Like, that's what I would like to see.
The Groovy Ghoulies?
Yeah, like the Groovy Ghoulies. Yeah, that'd be awesome. Right? Okay, so now we get on to where things start to change a little bit.
The eventual fall of Mego toys has been documented many times, and I'm pretty sure we discussed it on here in one of our previous videos when we talked about Mego figures. There's quite a few. We've done quite a few episodes on Mego. We love Mego figures. Just to cover it again, but quickly, Mego either passed or missed out on the Star Wars license, which allowed a little upstart company called Kenner to dominate the action figure market throughout the 1980s and early 1990s. Mego tried to counter by buying multiple licenses for various pop culture properties, including Micronauts, but none of them could match the galaxy far, far away and the toy bucks of many children who just wanted Star Wars.
Star Wars.
Personally, I went from Mego. The second I saw Star Wars, I don't think I ever bought another Mego figure. All of my toy dollars went to Star Wars figures.
Absolutely.
Until recently.
Right.
That's a whole nother story.
And this shift, combined with the multiple gas crises that occurred through the 70s and raised the price of plastic, that made it really difficult to produce 8-inch figures, which is the reason, by the way, Star Wars were 3 and 3/4.
Well, Mego tried to produce those small figures, but
they did. They bought from Takara the Micronauts, which were the Micro
no,
Man.
they tried superhero ones too, but they tanked quickly.
It didn't really work, right?
Right.
Yeah. It eventually caused Mego's profits to decline, and by 1982, the Abrams Company filed for bankruptcy.
I declare bankruptcy!
Before the end of Mego, though, the company re-released the Mad Monsters series of figures through their European manufacturing arm, which was called Lion Rock Toys.
Those are probably worth a lot.
The dolls looked basically the same, but the packaging was more contemporary card and blister pack, with the blister on the side, and had the Lion Rock Toys logo on the package.
Worth a fortune.
Yeah, they are very expensive, and is missing the accompanying World's Greatest Superhero label. This has provided further valuable variants for collectors to hunt down. Mego figures have seen a resurgence in the last decade or so among toy collectors, and with new and reissued figures hitting the shelves everywhere, but I haven't seen anybody reproducing the Mad Monster series.
They have produced. Mego is back in business again, and Marty Abrams is the head of it again, and they're reproducing a lot of figures. They just recently did Mego figures, and they just released their first wave of Marvel figures, World's Greatest Superheroes, back again. They have done monster figures, but they have not done these.
But these monsters, the new monster figures Mego's putting out, they have the license to do the Universal.
Have not done these.
They've done the Hammer figures, which I really like. The Hammer horror figures.
And they're pulling from new movies too. They're doing a lot of horror figures. They have not reproduced these in any way, shape, or form.
But I have to say, I'm hoping that Mad Monsters have enough energy for one more resurrection, just so I can get some red-headed Dracula.
We'll do it.
Yeah.
We'll push them over.
I really want a red-headed Dracula and a blue-haired Frankenstein on my shelf. So, what do you think?
I think we could help that cause. Forward this to Marty Abrams if you know him. Let him know that we really want. I think they would sell well too, because they hold a special place in Mego collectors' hearts, because they were so unique at the time.
Absolutely. So that's it. What did you think? Did you like the Mad Monster figures? Did you have any of them? Do you want any?
Maybe I had the other ones. I don't know.
You might have the AHI.
I didn't even know AHI existed before this video.
Right. So thanks for listening to this, and comment, subscribe, support us if you can on Patreon or right here on YouTube.
Here's how you can be entered in this giveaway.
First and foremost, you have to be a subscriber. Then you have to comment on this video that you watched it all the way to the end. And during our next haul video, you'll find out if you're the lucky winner of the comics we're giving away. And until next time, collect what you love.
And love what you collect.
See you soon.